Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to take you through how to install this. To this. So the parts that I'm going to install are an OMP Superquadro steering wheel, and I'll show you that here. And I picked this one because of the size. It's a lot shorter because of this flat bottom than the factory steering wheel. So that's why I went with this model in particular. It's a small diameter. It's actually pretty close to the size of the stock S2000 wheel, which I was surprised by. So I'm using that wheel. I used the NRG hub. This is the part number SRK131H, and it's for the Honda S2000, and it has the resistors so that your SRS light doesn't come on when you remove the airbag. And then the other part is the quick release kit, and this is the SRK650BK. That's the part number, SRK650BK, and this is also designed for the to work with the Honda S2000. So those are kind of the three parts you need when you're setting out to do an aftermarket steering wheel. When I started my search, I wasn't really sure what I needed exactly. So, but you need the quick release, you need the hub, and you need the actual wheel itself. There's also one other thing you need, which are the bolts. These are the bolts. I had to purchase these separately, but these are what actually secure the steering wheel to the quick release. So I guess in total there are 4 parts that you need. I went with OMP. I was kind of debating between MOMO and OMP, but in the end, they seem to have the wheel that was the right size, so that's why I decided to go with OMP. I don't really know much about quality, but they make a lot of race stuff, so they seem to be pretty reputable. So we'll see how it goes with that wheel and how it lasts, over time. And I'll definitely let you guys know what my experience is with that. But it looks nice. It looks like it's a quality piece. The NRG stuff, I mentioned it in my other video, but I've heard that they're kind of hit or miss. Some work, some don't. I'm hoping I got some good ones. Some people have had problems with them, but they're about half the price of their competition, and I've heard enough stories, good stories about them, that I was willing to give the NRG stuff a try. The other choices, obviously, Works Bell is one of the really popular ones, and then I think it's called Snap Off is another one that's really popular. So anyway, these are the sort of the 4 different components that you need to do the installation. The wheel, the quick release, and the hub, and then the hardware for attaching the steering wheel. Okay, so what tools do we need for this project? There are a number of tools that you need to use. You're going to need a torque wrench where you can adjust it in foot-pounds, along with an extension. So you'll need an extension piece. About this length. I think this is probably like a 10-inch or a 12-inch extension piece, probably like a 10-inch piece. You'll need a second socket wrench with a 10mm socket. You'll need also for the torque wrench, you'll need the 14mm socket. You'll also need this Torx bit. So this is a T30 Torx bit. You'll need that for the steering wheel, the side steering wheel airbag bolts. You'll need a little bit of wire. I don't even know what gauge wire this is. I'm not sure exactly. I had this wire laying around. I just need a very short length of just plain wire to make your adapter for the horn button. You'll need one of these female gauge quick disconnects. This is a 22-18 gauge female. It says 0.250 inch quick disconnect. You'll need one of those, and that's also for the adapter for the horn button. Wire stripper to cut and strip the wire. This is again for the horn button issue. I had a second socket wrench. You only really need one, but I had 2. And I think that's about it. This tool is just a small Allen wrench. This came with the bolts. That's for the steering wheel bolts to attach the steering wheel on. and that came with the steering wheel bolts. And that's it. Because we're dealing with airbag removal, because we're removing the factory steering wheel, we need to disconnect the battery. So to do that, there are two nuts that you have to remove, one on each terminal. Use your 10mm socket to take those off. Remove both leads and just make sure the battery is completely disconnected. And then after you've disconnected the battery, you want to put your foot on the brake, make sure your brake lights come on, put your foot on the brake for 10-20 seconds, make sure all the power, any residual power is out of the system. When you're working with the airbag, it can be very dangerous. If it goes off, it can go off with enough force to break the windshield, it can injure you, so you want to make sure all the power is bled out of the system before removing the airbag. You also do not want to ever sit in front of the airbag. I'm probably going to sit sort of outside of the door of the car while I'm taking the wheel out, or while I'm taking the airbag out rather, just in case it were to go off, so it wouldn't hit me. But again, just use very extreme caution here. The airbag can be dangerous. They're meant to save you, but obviously you don't want to catch an airbag in the face trying to uninstall it. Okay, now that I've removed the leads from the battery, I've disconnected the battery, I'm going to just put my foot on the brake and just hold it down. And I'm going to hold it down for about 10-20 seconds here. And you can kind of make sure the lights are not coming on. If you can kind of look in your rearview mirror and try to, if you've I've got a garage door behind me that I can see. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but I can see that the brake lights are not coming on. That's good. It means the battery's disconnected, A, and also B, it means all the extra power has been bled out of the system, which is what you want. So pressing the brakes is just to get that last bit of juice out of the system to make sure there's nothing in here that could cause the airbag to deploy. The other thing you want to make sure is, and you should probably actually do this before you disconnect the battery. You should definitely do this before you disconnect the battery, but make sure your steering wheel is straight, lined up, straight up and down like this, centered. Not turned off to one side, because when you put the new wheel in, you want to make sure that it's, when the new wheel is straight, the wheels are actually straight. So you want to, if you can, try to make sure this is as straight as possible, and do that before disconnecting the battery. Now that all the juice is out of the system, the battery's been disconnected, we're going to use our T30 Torx socket with our socket wrench. And if you can see here, behind the steering wheel, it's a little tough to see, but there's a panel right here that pops off, and there's one on the other side also that pops off. So you can just pop that off with your hands actually here. So I'm just gonna do that, and it's a piece of plastic. It just sort of pops off, and that you can see it exposes the Torx screw that's right there that we have to get to with using our Torx socket. There's the same thing on the other side also. So after you've taken the panel off, you'll see this yellow plug clip here with wires coming out of both ends. That's the air connector for the airbag. So it's pretty easy to separate this. And these are different. These actually changed over the years with different S2000s. The 2006 one I think is different than the 2004, 2005. I'm not sure about 2001 through 2003 models, or 2000 through 2003 actually. But this one is actually a little different. I saw a video of a 2004 or 2005 model airbag connector, and it looked completely different. So your airbag connector might be different. I think they're all yellow. But with this one, you basically, if you look at the side of it here, let me see if you can see it from the side. So if you look right there, there's a black rubber tab. It's like a tab piece that sticks out, and you basically just pull that downward, and then you use some pressure to pull this end out. So you kind of pull down and then pull out with this end. All right, so pull down on this, and then pull up on this piece in there. So there, now I've disconnected it. Okay. Now that this has been disconnected, I'm going to go ahead and take these Torx bolts out. Like I said, there's one on this side, that silver Torx bolt, and then there's one on the other side also. And once I do that, that's going to release the airbag. And the airbag, this whole center section here is going to, with the Honda symbol on, this whole part's going to just slide out. So I'm just taking this Torx bolt out. I loosened it with the Torx bolt, and I just used my fingers to unscrew it the rest of the way. So that one's out. Now I'm going to go around to the other side and take the other one out as well. Okay, now I'm taking out the other side. So first thing I have to do is pop the panel off. There's the panel piece. So pop that off. You can just use your fingers to take that off. And then I've got to get to that Torx bolt just like on the other side. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to sort of loosen it a little bit with this socket, and then I'm going to just use my fingers to take it out so it doesn't drop down into the steering wheel here. Okay, there we go. So that one's now come out also. Put that off to the side. Now, theoretically, this piece should just slide off, and I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to do this very, very carefully here, because again, this is an airbag, and we always want to be very careful with the airbag. Okay, so now that has come off, and there is the airbag. Now that you've got the airbag out, the next thing you want to do is make sure that all of these connectors and wires here are clear, so that you can take the wheel off. So you've got to unclip this one here. I think this is for like the radio controls and whatnot. So this is actually a plug that unplugs, and then there's another one down here. I think this is the horn. This one you just kind of push it in, and then the whole thing just slides off here. And I know it's hard to see; it's kind of tight fit here. But if I push it in, then I slide it. Let's see if it comes out. I might need both hands. I'm not sure I can put the camera. Let me try the camera right here. I'm not sure how much you guys are going to be able to see. I apologize, but let me see if I can pull this out. There we go. Yeah. So you just kind of pushed it in, and then it would come out. It says actually push on top of it, and then up here, I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but up here it's kind of the same deal. These plugs are kind of held in with a little bracket. You can just pull them out. So you got the plug out here now, and then you're gonna push. See, how does this one work? You push this part in. You push this part right here. Push that in, and then you pull the plug apart. So I'm going to do that right now. There. So that is that plug. Now you've got all the plugs loose, and we're going to be able to take out our steering wheel bolt, which is right here. So that's going to be the next step. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and take the steering wheel off, and to do that you have to remove the steering wheel bolt right here. You need a 14mm socket to take this off. I'm just using a socket wrench with an extension on it. Hopefully this is going to work. So let's see how this goes. I kind of hold it with the steering wheel with my knees. There we go. I just broke it free. So it definitely takes some force to break this thing free, but then it kind of just comes right out. Okay, and there's your steering wheel bolt. All right. So the next step is to attempt to pull the steering wheel off. And from what I've seen, it takes quite a bit of force. The steering wheel basically just pulls straight out this way. And you've got to kind of jiggle it with both arms and try to pull it straight out. Now, before you do this, once again, I mentioned it before, but make sure that the steering wheel is very, very straight, centered, so that when you put the new one in, when the new steering wheel is dead center, your wheels are also dead center and everything lines up. So this is sort of your last chance to make sure that the steering wheel is very straight. So now I'm going to take it and I'm going to try to just sort of pull this thing out. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. There it goes. All right. Make sure these cables, these little wires feed through. So the steering wheel is out. Now you're left with just this, I guess, the spline and the wires here. So put the steering wheel off to the side. And this is, here, I'll show you guys, this is what you're left with. And again, this is, now you can see sort of why it was so important that we made sure that the steering wheel was straight. This has these little splines. You can't turn this now once the steering wheel's off. So, now I've got to try to slide the other assembly on straight. And if you didn't have the wheel lined up, you'd have no way to know if your wheel was turned or if it was dead center. Okay, so now we've got to install our resistors in line with our airbag plug here. And that keeps the SRS light from coming on. Now, unfortunately, I already had an SRS light on because of the seats that I installed. I've got to mess around with the weight sensor. There's a weight sensor in the passenger seat that's very sensitive, so I've got to get that figured out. So my SRS light's going to be on anyway, but I don't want it to be on because of the steering wheel. I want to get the the weight sensor in the seat fixed, and then the SRS light should go off. But anyway, what you want to do is you want to look at the airbag plug, which is the yellow one, and you'll notice that there are basically 8 holes. There are 4 smaller ones along the top, and those are the ones you're interested in. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the 2 prongs of one of the resistors and you're going to put them here in one side, and then you're going to take the other resistor and put that in the other side. And I don't think there's like a polarity issue or anything. I don't think it matters which way they go as long as you've got one resistor on one side and the other resistor on the other side. Okay, so it should look like that when you're done. And hopefully you can see that. I hear the camera doing a lot of focusing, so hopefully you're able to see this. If not, I'll sort of zoom in a little bit here and show you afterwards. But anyway, so that's how you have your resistors set up so that your SRS light hopefully does not come on. Next step now is to go ahead and put the hub on. You want to make sure that the NRG logo is the top. There's a little pass through here on the back, a little window pass through that allows these cables to sort of go through. And so I'm gonna run these cables through the window here. this steering wheel bolt has to be tightened to 29 pound-feet. So I've got my torque wrench here, and I've got it set to, it's upside down, but 29 pound-feet. I've just got an extension on it, so I'm going to just use the torque wrench here and tighten this down. Let me see if I can do this with one hand. This is a little challenging with one hand. I've hit 29 pound-feet. So I got the bolt tightened to 29 pound-feet. It did turn this, so when I put the wheel on, the wheel's going to kind of be sideways. That's fine. Turn the steering wheel. I don't know. Just like I like to use proper torque when doing these things. You know, torque it to factory specs just to be safe. It probably doesn't matter that much, but you know, it is the steering wheel. It's kind of important. So I've got it at 29 pound-feet, and now I'm going to try to tuck these wires in, and then put the quick release on. I've run all those out through here, and I'm just going to kind of tuck the ones I don't need, which is everything but the horn. I'm going to tuck those sort of right into this this space here. I want to just be really careful because I don't want to, you know, mess anything up. Hopefully both of these plugs will fit in here. I think they will. I'm just going to kind of tuck this in. It's hard to do this with one hand, holding the camera. All right, so I've kind of tucked everything in there. Okay, so now we've got the quick disconnect piece that we're going to install. We're going to install that here on top of the hub. The important thing here is to hook up the wires properly. So you got two wires that come out of the back. You've got this female one, you got this male one. So the male one is going to connect to this horn female plug. So that's going to go right in there. It's going to slide right in. And then this female one is actually going to go into this spacer ring. It's going to slide right into that sort of that rectangular piece right there. So I'll show you real quick as I set this thing up here. I'll try to do it here with one hand. So like I said, this piece is going to slide right into this female plug, just like that. Okay, and then this yellow one is going to go into the horn button. So I'm going to have to kind of hold it up and plug that in. I'll put the camera here. Hopefully you guys can see it. So I've got this one plugged in. I'm going to now plug the yellow connector into this female horn plug here. And this thing has this adapter ring has two different offsets of slots. Just make sure you're using the right ones so the holes are lining up properly. And then you kind of tuck it all in. Make sure, again, the logo is up. Make sure your holes are lining up. Oh, well, you know what? I've turned the wheel, so in fact, I also need to make sure this is turned the same. Yeah, so when I was torquing down that the steering wheel bolt, I was actually turning the wheel at the same time, which is fine, but now it just means that everything's going to kind of be off center while I'm setting it up here. So they give you these bolts to put in. So once you've got that hooked up, you can start putting the bolts in. This is going to take. Okay, so that's done. So I've got those installed. I tightened all those down. You just want to be careful. You want to sort of, you know, put them on loosely first. Make sure everything's lined up properly. Don't force them in. You don't want to cross thread them, but they will line up eventually. And you can see the sort of the edge of this I guess it's a contact piece, that ring thing sticking out sort of. But so that's on. And like I said, you know, the only reason the NRG, I've got the NRG logo down here is because you can see the hub, the way it's lined up, the NRG logo for the hub is down here. It's just the whole thing turns. So when I put the steering wheel on, it's going to be sort of sort of facing this way, but it should all work out fine. Okay, so now I've got to do the next step, which is the quick release portion of the of this piece, the part that mates up to it. And I think I'm going to do is I'm going to attach that to the steering wheel first, and then just snap the entire steering wheel on. All right, so small setback here. I went to attach the steering wheel onto the quick release piece here, and it's supposed to go on just like that. You got these wires that come out, and then what you do is you put the horn button on top of there, and these wires go into the horn button. The one wire for the horn is a female, and that's fine. It'll go right in here. Because these are it'll go into the male connector for the horn. Unfortunately, there's also a male connector for the ground, and obviously this male connector is not going to connect to that. So what I'm going to have to do is use one of these female wire ends here, and I'm going to just use a short length of wire and sort of run it from this to the hole that's in the male one. So I'm basically going to make this male one into a female connector, so that then it'll hook right into the ground here, no problem. Okay, I used my wire stripper to just cut a small piece of this wire, and I stripped both ends. You can see both ends are exposed now. I'm going to put one end in here, and I'm going to sort of tie the other end around. You can see there's a hole in this, so I'm going to actually sort of tie it to this, and I'll show you the end result here in just a second. And the way you do this with the heat shrink is you just use a lighter and just kind of go back and forth on it and work the heat on it, and that causes the rubber here to, if I can get this in focus, causes the rubber to just sort of shrink down around the connection, and it just sort of melts to the existing wire, and that's what you're left with. So it just kind of seals it in. It's for moisture protection. I mean, it's not really going to probably be an issue here, but again, it's just for safety. And then I'll do the electrical tape here on this one. And there's the finished product. I just wrapped this in this white electrical tape, and now everything should hook up. So let's try that here. Hopefully you guys can see this. Okay, so you're gonna run this wire, the ground wire, here into this connector. Then you're gonna run the horn wire here into this connector. So ground wire and horn wire. So we put the steering wheel on top. Make sure it's lined up with your wings the way you want them to be. So you've got the NRG logo at the top here, and then you line it up with the holes. Just make sure that's straight. And now I'm going to go ahead and put my bolts in for that. So I'm just putting these bolts in that secure the steering wheel to the hub assembly. All right, now I can connect my horn button with the connectors that we made. And when I connected it, so now I've pushed the horn button. It just once you've connected it, you just push it into place hard with your palm of your hand, and we're all set. There's an OMP sticker that goes on here. You can put it on, or you don't have to. But that's the horn button. So I may put that on later. We'll see what it looks like. And now I'm gonna try to put it in the car. See if it goes in the car. Moment of truth. You gotta pull it. You gotta push the button down at the top and pull these wings back at the same time. So it's like a three-point thing. You gotta do both paddles and the button on top and pull it all the way back till it locks, and then push it on. and it feels tight. Well, I don't feel any play in it. I probably won't really know until I'm on track, but I don't feel any play. And to pull it off, it's the same thing. It's the button and the paddles, and then it just comes off like that. I mean, and part of the reason I did this was because I put in the halo seat. You know, in the case of a fire or something like that, with the door shut, with the steering wheel here, it's really hard for me to get out of the car if I need to get out of the car, out the window, if the door wouldn't open and the car was on fire. With the removable steering wheel, I can, hopefully I'll have to practice it, but I can hopefully pull it off, and then that's going to give me a lot more room to get out of the car. So it's a safety thing. It's also a functional thing for me. You know, I was having trouble with my knees hitting the bottom of the wheel. Well, this wheel is much smaller in diameter. In fact, it's probably going to be hard for me to see the tachometer. I can see the bottom of the tachometer, so it'll probably be fine, but it is much easier to heel toe now. My knee isn't hitting the wheel when I come across this way. That's a huge, huge improvement. I may not even have to drop the seat down now. We'll have to see, but going to clutch, heel toe. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any issues. I have a suspicion that this steering wheel is also just slightly closer to me than the stock steering wheel was, at least this portion right here, because it doesn't even seem like my knee is in the same plane anymore. So it seems like it's a little bit closer, which is fine with me. You know, obviously the stock steering wheel has no adjustment whatsoever. And so this is definitely an improvement. There's no other way to get. You can't adjust for reach or rake with the stock steering wheel. It's just fixed, which worked when the seat was lower. But now with this seat, I couldn't get it as low. I had issues with my knees hitting. This is a big improvement. So I'm hoping I think I'm gonna leave it as is for this next event at VIR here coming up in a few weeks, and see how it goes. But I mean, just sitting here. Heel toe, downshift. I have no issues. I don't think there's any issue. I don't have any clearance issues. I feel much more comfortable in the car. And like I said, the big thing, the safety, being able to take the steering wheel off to get out the window if I need to, that's a big deal too. So all around, I think this is a good mod. I don't think this is too small of a wheel, especially for somebody who is shorter than me. You would definitely have no problem seeing the tack. I can see about half of the part of the tack. I mean, I can see the whole tack, but the wheel sort of cuts off the top half of where it would light up. So I'll still be able to see the lights. I'll still be able to see when it hits red line, but I'm not seeing the entire thing. I'm only seeing like sort of the bottom half of all the bars, if that makes sense. But if somebody was maybe an inch or two shorter, you'd be able to see the whole thing. So it is sort of slightly smaller diameter, even on the top. But I think it's perfect for this car. Honestly, I think this steering wheel is great for this car. We'll see how it is on the track, but I mean, it seems, for what I needed in terms of clearance and safety, it seems like it's spot on. So, yeah, so I'll let you guys know how it goes, the track, and you know, I'll put all the part numbers, all the tools that I use, and all the part numbers in the info section of the video. If you have any questions, let me know. Put comments in the comments section. Hopefully I can help you out. But this looks like a great setup for the S2000. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, just feel free to put comments in the comments section. Definitely subscribe to my channel. I'm going to put a subscription button right here, so feel free to hit that to subscribe. I'm going to do a lot more of these videos. Everything I do with my S2000, I try to document both for me and for to help other people. So feel free to subscribe and follow along in my journey as as I continue to build up this car. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know if I'm going to do a Honda Challenge. I'm doing time trials right now with NASA, and doing some instructing. I don't know if I'm going to end up doing Honda Challenge or some other kind of racing, but I'm going to, the car will continue to progress as my driving progresses and as I have the need to do more modifications. But I'm going to document everything. So if you want to follow me on my journey, please subscribe, and if this was helpful, hit like. Thanks a lot.